see. I would say it's someone who will tell you exactly what they think, no matter how much it would hurt your feelings. Someone who's always true, someone who will always be beside you, and no matter what happens.
A real friend is someone who really cares for you and is interested in you at all times, no matter what's going on in your life, and shares with you.
A person that helps you when you're in need.
Someone that doesn't lie.
A real friend is someone that cares and understands and is there when you need them and will love you unconditionally.
A real friend that don't tell your business when you talk to them. they hide all your secrets.
Somebody, when you need somebody, they're always there. You're not just saying they're there, they love you unconditionally. Always there for you.
A real friend is somebody that likes you just the way you are.
A real friend is someone you can trust.
Some of them ain't from around here. Hey. We are in the middle of a series called What's He Like? And you picked a great day to be here, even if it's your first time. But what we're doing is, instead of going by what everybody else says about who Jesus is and what God is like and what they care about and what they don't care about, we're actually going with what Jesus said about himself and what the people that lived with him and closest to him had to say about him, instead of having to guess, because that's what a lot of us are left to do, or maybe popular person on TV or what somebody else says or a news organization or whatever about what God is like. We're going to actually just go to the source. And so today we're actually talking about this idea of who Jesus is. But to get there, I want to share an example from my growing up time because I used to play in junior high, so 6th, 7th, 8th grade in there. We had this very sophisticated game that we played. It was called Two for Flinching. All right. And so if you've never played Two for Flinching, what happens is you aggressively pretend to hit your friend and you stop. But if they flinch, you get to hit them in the arm twice. That's 2 for flinching. Bang, bang, because you flinched. And what was underneath this is really kind of an awkward junior high boy wanting to be man kind of friendship, don't know really how to express it and all that other stuff. But there was also one part of it where it was kind of like, look, I'm your friend. You should trust me. I'm not going to hit you. I mean, we wanted our friends to trust us, right? And as I thought about kid friendships, and I don't know what your situation was like, how you grew up, but the way I grew up, most of my friends were boys, and we all lived in the same neighborhood, and we all went to the same school, and we all played Little League on the same teams, and so we were always kind of together. And a lot of my friends, I remember it was not unusual for us to get in a fight. Like on the playground, in somebody's backyard, whatever it might be, we're pushing and we're pulling each other, we're wrestling, whatever. And then the next day, it was like nothing ever happened. Right? I mean, we were friends. That was just kind of the way it was. And it stands out to me that sometimes adult friendships are different than kid friendships, right? I mean, they're a little more complex and all that other stuff. But there's a part of me that would love to go back to kid friendships, right? Because they were much more accepting. They were much more flexible. You could punch your friend twice in the arm and they were fine. I mean, they shouldn't have flinched, right? I mean, everything was different with kid friendships than with adult friendships. And I don't know, if you had a best friend growing up. My best friend growing up, his name was Brannon, no D, B-R-A-N-N, Brannon Wheeler. And I'm gonna tell you more about Brannon later, but you probably had a best friend growing up. And the reason I ask you that is because I wanna know, if you had a best friend growing up, do you have a best friend now? Who is your best friend? Because unfortunately, it's kind of bad news. A lot of adults don't really have that same level of friendship, that same kind of best friendness. Now some of you, and it's not that it's cheating, but you're like, well, it's my spouse or my boyfriend or my girlfriend or my husband and the person I'm with, that's my best friend, and I understand that. But even then, there's just kind of this difference when it comes to adult friendships. And I totally get it, because some of you, you're kind of thinking like, look, man, I got to work and I got stuff and I got family, or I got a job, or I got a roommate, I got all this stuff. I can't manage friendships. I don't have all the hangout time that I used to have, where you just ride your bike around, or you just go to somebody's house and play video games, or just, all that kind of stuff. I don't have that anymore, so I don't have friends like that. And what we do is we tell ourselves in our head, well, I don't really need them. I mean, I'm a grown up. I mean, come on, things have changed. Like I said, I got stuff, I can't, I don't, it's not gonna happen that way. And the problem is this. When our friendship quotient is really low, a couple of bad things happen. And you know this, but just humor me for a minute. One of the bad things that happens is when you hit those moments. When you hit those moments where it'd be really nice to have a close friend. Well, you need a little support. You need a little encouragement. You need somebody to kind of walk through something with you. Or you're just feeling really lonely. You're just feeling kind of depressed and down. And you would love to have that person, that friend, that could come alongside you. And I know you know this. There's really no substitute for that, is there? I mean, there's no app for that. I mean, you can stream all you want to stream. You can go on all the trips you want to go on. But if you're really longing to have a connection with another person that's meaningful, there isn't any way to do that without a person. There's just no way to do it. And so we miss our friends when our friendship quotient is low and we go through a hard time, but we also miss out on some good stuff too. We miss out on all the just hang out stuff and the supporting and encouraging and accountability and just sharing great life experiences. Somebody graduates, somebody gets married, somebody gets promoted. I mean, when we don't have close friends, we miss that stuff. And we kind of lose that. And we lose something important if we don't have that. I mean, like I said, adult friendships are different than kid friendships. But one thing that I have found, and again, you may be the exception, but I have found is different, is no matter how close a friend we have, we don't really share everything, right? I mean, you probably have some friends in your life that you like. You probably have some friends in your life that you love. And you may even have some friends in your life that you go on vacation with, because that's a whole nother level of like all day, every day with them, right? And so you've got some people in your life, hopefully, that you really enjoy. But you don't tell them everything, right? I mean, the stuff in the dark corners, you don't really tell them about that. And I know this is getting kind of heavy. The stuff you hate about yourself, you don't tell them because you don't want them to know it. You don't want them to feel it. You don't want them to experience that too. You don't want to point out something that maybe they don't know yet. And if you pointed it out, now they know that you think that or that you feel that way. And then there's a few things. And come on, let's be honest. There's things that go through our head. There's things that we think about and we don't say out loud to anyone. I mean, no one. Because no one would be okay hearing that. And we want a friend, but we also know we got to kind of gauge it. We got to kind of monitor this, because if we give them too much, in essence, to use the analogy from before, if we really let them in and show them everything, they might flinch, right? They might, good luck with all that. You know, I'm going to keep the happy face on, but you're crazy, and I'm not going to spend more time with you because everything you told me, I don't want anything to do with you anymore because you're wacko. You know, I can't do that. And we don't want to experience that. We don't want the emotional jaw drop. I mean, it would be preferable to get punched in the arm than it would be to lose the relationship because we shared so much that it scared them off. See, we want friends that don't flinch, right? We want friends that give us life. We want friends that build us up. I mean, no matter if you're a kid or an adult, we want this kind of relationship where when we mess up, they don't leave, right? When we're on our latest rant about what we don't like and how the world's broken and somebody needs to fix this and this is wrong and that's wrong, and they just let us go, you know, and they just smile and nod. You know, they're not judging us. They're just letting us do our thing. And when we're upset and we're hurting and we just don't want to talk and we don't want to talk about it, they're fine to just sit there quietly with us. It's okay. I'll just hang here with you. We want that person that when we blow up, they don't give up on us. They see us at our worst, and it doesn't seem to back them off. It doesn't seem to put a distance between us. That's what we want. And that kind of friend is a friend that gives you life. They build you up. And it's not so much any one thing that they do. It is who they are and how they are with you. They just somehow seem to breathe life into you without even trying in some cases. And that's what we really want. We can show everything. We can open up the vault, so to speak. They can see who we are and what we're about, and it doesn't scare them, and it doesn't embarrass them, and they don't back away from us. That's a friend who gives us life. And I know this is kind of a little cliche kind of saying, but it really is true. It's what we're all after. Every one of us wants this. We want to be in a situation where we are having an unflinching friend because it gives us life without end. That relationship that just breathes life into us. I don't know anybody that doesn't want that. We want a real friend. If you've got your Bible, we're going to be in John chapter 15, or you want to follow along in the app, because Jesus does something in John 15 that should give you hope. Whether you have that kind of relationship right now or not, this should give you hope. Because the whole book of John, one of the things that happens in the book of John, if you don't know this, is Jesus tells us a lot about who he is. He shares a lot of information about not just facts and figures and stuff he did, which is great to know, but who he is as a person and how he sees you as a person. And so we have this huge list. To be honest with you, it's almost too long to go through. But one of the things that probably would surprise you that's at the top of the list for Jesus, one of the way he describes himself to you is as a friend. He describes himself as a friend. John 15, verse 12. Let's look at this together. John 15, verse 12. Jesus is having one of the most intense conversations he is ever going to have, and he's having it with the people that are the very most close people to him in the world. He says this in John 15, verse 12. My command is this: love each other as I have loved you. Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. You are my friends if you do what I command. I no longer call you servants, because a servant does not know his master's business. Instead, I have called you friends, for everything that I learned from my Father, I have made known to you. Now, just stop there for a minute, and we're going to look at another passage here in just a second. But Jesus, in essence, says, I am your friend. And again, this is what we were talking about before. You might have heard a lot of things about who Jesus is. Jesus is angry. Jesus is a judge. Jesus wants to make sure you do everything right. Jesus is going to get you if you do something wrong, or Jesus is embarrassed of you, or Jesus wishes you wouldn't mess up so much, or whatever you heard about Jesus. But Jesus is saying one of the best descriptions between me and you, and when I say you, I don't mean everybody in here. I mean you sitting in your chair. One of the best descriptions between me and you is I'm your friend. That's how Jesus describes himself. And for a lot of us, we've never thought of it that way. That he would pick that word, that he would pick that idea of a friendship. It seems strange in some ways, but I can tell you, you can trust it. Because you may not know this, but some of Jesus' most fiercest critics, the people that did not like him, the people that wanted him to go away, ultimately the people that were responsible for having him arrested and killed, you know what one of their biggest complaints about Jesus was? You're friends with the wrong people. You are friends with people that you shouldn't be friends with. You're hanging out with the losers, with the lowlifes, with the people that aren't valuable, the people that aren't like us, the people that we don't want to have anything to do with. You are friends to them. And that is why we don't like you. But can you imagine if you were one of the losers and the lowlifes and the friends that weren't valuable and the people that nobody else wanted to have anything to do with? If he treated you like his friend, how different that would be. You see, and this is one of the things, I've heard preachers say this over and over and over, but I love it because it's so true. People who were nothing like Jesus liked Jesus. Why? Because of the way he treated them. People that knew, Jesus, you're different than me. I mean, you're good, right? I'm not. You don't seem to lose your patience and get mad at people and blow up. I do. You tend to treat everyone like they're valuable. I don't. You tend to be selfless. I'm selfish. I see it. You are different than me. And these people saw that Jesus was very different with them. They had nothing in common. They were not like him at all. But they liked him because he treated them like his friends. Maybe you feel that way. Maybe you're like those people that Jesus treats you like he's your friend, even though you know you're nothing like him. I mean, you may be successful, and maybe you've made a lot of money and you've done a lot of stuff, and from the outside, your life looks really good. You've accomplished a lot, but at the same time, you know on the inside, something's off. I mean, I should be happy, right? I got the family, I got the money, I got the stuff, I got the job, I got the car, I got the house, and yet, I know it's not the way it's supposed to be. You might be the person that lives life and you're carefree and everything you do, it looks like you've got it made. It looks like everything is perfect. And everybody on the outside would look and say, hey, yeah, I wouldn't mind living that life. But on the inside, you're kind of going, no, there's something missing. Because no matter how carefree my life looks, I feel stressed and anxious inside. Or maybe you're the person, you figured it all out. And you somehow made it all work. The relationships, the family, the stuff. I mean, it just, you got your life and you've kind of fixed it around this perfect ideal. And yet on the inside, somebody asked you, if you were honest, if you would say the things that you don't say, It's broken. I don't know exactly how or why or how to describe it, but something inside is broken. Jesus, even though you're not like him, he wants to be your friend. And that's why they, and hopefully you too, like Jesus, even though you're not like Jesus. You liked him, and it's because of the way he treats us. Now, he says something kind of unusual, and I got to be honest with you. Having a friendship with Jesus, for some of you, may seem really strange. Like, I never really thought about that. That's not part of my world. That's not part of the way I think. And how would that even work? Like, friends with God, you know, what does that look like? It is different, okay? Let me just say that right up front. It is different. Because I don't know how many of you have a friend that says, I'll be your friend if you obey everything I say. Anybody got one? That would be weird, right? If some guy came up to me and goes, I'd love to be your friend as long as you do everything I tell you. I'm like, no, that's not going to happen, And Jesus said, I chose you. So he's like, I chose you as my friend, and if you'll do everything I tell you to do, I'll be your friend. And you're like, it is different. We are not peers with Jesus, okay? So don't get me wrong. But at the same time, there are so many facets of friendship, the good things about friendship, the normal things about friendship. When you say, hey, who's your best friend, or who do you love hanging out with? All of those things you think of apply. And let me give you the most basic one, because this one, I think it is basic, but at the same time, it's kind of mind-blowing, right? So if I said that I wanted to be your friend, and I was really, involved and engaged, and let's say you're kind of a fairly normal person, and you're kind of flattered, but at the same time, you're like, I'm gonna be that guy's friend. Right? I mean, it's just, I don't want to. What would that make me? Not a friend, but a stalker, right? Like, I'm going to keep showing up. I'm going to keep being there. I'm going to keep pretending we're friends even though we don't know each other and you don't want to be my friend. I mean, that would be weird, right? You can't have a friendship unless it goes both ways. I mean, there's no such thing as a friendship where one person is a friend and the other person isn't. That's not a friendship. And so, again, to me, this is crazy. When Jesus looks at you, again, you in your seat, not you in the audience, you in your seat, you personally. When Jesus looks at you, he says, I want to be your friend. And it's mutual. I want you to be friends with me, and I want to be friends with you. And again, I think that's just, it's kind of so mind-blowing. Jesus isn't about the idea of friendship. He is an actual friend. And so everything you like to do, and I apologize, some of you probably don't like to do the same things I do, but for me, it's like, hey, I'm gonna come over and sit down and watch the ball game. We're gonna sit in the backyard. We're gonna grill hamburgers. We're gonna go do these things. We're gonna hang out on the weekends. We're gonna do stuff in the evening. I'm gonna call you. I'm gonna text you every once in a while. I mean, those kind of things that I do with my friends when I have a real friendship, Jesus is like, yeah, I'm down for that. I wanna have a relationship with you. And here's what's hard about this for me, and you may end up being in the same boat. I have no problem, and I know not everybody grew up this way. I know that's not everybody's story, so I apologize if this is a little different than yours. I know that not everybody knows Jesus as their friend. I get that. But I do. And it's odd to me because I see how I benefit from being connected to Jesus. He loves me, he forgives me, he's taught me, he helps me, he talks to me when I'm struggling, he walks me through stuff. I have shared so many experiences where Jesus has been a friend to me. It has literally changed my life, and it has changed the way I see people. It has changed the way I see the world. His love has changed me and helped me love. I mean, it has completely benefited me. I get that part. But if friendship is really mutual, he likes being with me too. That is a jaw dropper to me. He likes hanging out with me. He likes hanging out with you. And you're like, I'm busy, I got stuff. And he's like, that's fine. I'd like to go with you. I get distracted and I kind of fall off the wagon times. I do some things wrong. I don't know. That's fine. I want to be with you. I want to hang with you. I want to share experiences with you. I want to be connected with you. Jesus, get this, Jesus enjoys being with you, just like you enjoy being with him, because that's friendship. And again, it's such a strange thing. I grew up going to church, and maybe some of you did as well. I grew up going to church, and it was easy to walk away with the idea that what it really means to know and follow and love God is I do the stuff, right? I go to church, and so I go to church as many Sundays as I can get there. And I try to give some money so that I can be generous, because that's what good people do. And I try to be a good person, a good citizen. I'm being nice to my neighbor, and I'll try to be thoughtful, and I'll try to make moral decisions, and I'm gonna just do all the stuff, and if I do all the stuff, then that's good, right? Do any of your other friends do that to you? Do any of the friends in your life have a checklist of things you have to do before they'll be your friend? Before they'll want to be around you or spend time with you? I don't. And if you do, we should probably talk. That's not a good situation. Jesus doesn't either. I mean, don't get me wrong. All those things are good. Going to church, giving, being generous, being moral, trying to be a good neighbor and love other people. All those things are good. But do you realize that Jesus is more concerned about being connected with you than he is about you checking off a box of to-dos? Because he's your friend. That is his heart. And that is what sometimes is so hard to get a hold of. That everything he did, he came here. He allowed himself to be arrested. He allowed himself to be executed. He rose from the dead. Everything that he did so he could connect with you. That's why he did it. He wants a relationship, a connection with you. And so he puts it in terms we can understand. He says, I want to be your friend. I'm going to come to where you are. I'll meet you there. You don't have to come meet me. I will meet you. I will be with you. We will hang out. We will be together. That is the relationship that I want with you. And again, I push back sometimes, and I'm like, Jesus, you know, I appreciate all the good things you're doing for me. Why would you want to hang out with me? Why would you want to be around me? I mean, I've had all this rejection. I got all this baggage. And he says, you know what? I want to heal that. I want to teach you how accepted you are. Okay, well, you know, that's nice. I appreciate that. That's good. But Jesus, you don't understand. I mean, I'm harsh. I'm hard on me. I'm hard on other people. I'm judgmental in the way I look at people and things. And you know, if somebody does stuff wrong, at least wrong according to me, I mean, I can really just kind of start knocking them down in my head. And he says, I get it. I want to meet your harshness with my gentleness. Oh, Jesus, I thank you. I appreciate that, you know, but I kind of have this list of people. And these people that are on the good list, people that I want to hang out with, and then there's a list of people that I don't want to be around, and they're wrong, and they're bad, and I don't want to have anything to do with them. And Jesus says, I want to meet that with a humility that teaches you how to accept people. I want to heal your loneliness with my friendship. You see, Jesus isn't about the idea of friendship. He is about being a friend to you. This is not an idea. This is not a philosophy or some kind of truth to discover. This is the relational, heart connection, real life thing that Jesus wants to have with you personally. He heals our loneliness with his friendship. And you might say, okay, well, that makes sense, and I get it. I mean, Jesus was there with those guys. He was in the room with them, but he left. Now what? How does that actually work? If you've still got your Bible open, turn over one page back to John 14. So he tells us exactly how this is going to work, even though he is not physically here. In John 14, verse 15, it's going to sound a little bit familiar because this is part of one big conversation that Jesus was having with these guys. John 14, 15, he says it this way, if you love me, keep my commands, and I will ask the Father, and he will give you another advocate to help you and be with you forever, the Spirit of truth. The world can't accept him because it neither sees him nor knows him, but you know him. Get this, for he lives with you and will be in you. I will not leave you as orphans. I will come to you. Before long, the world will not see me anymore, but you will see me. Because I live, you also will live. In other words, Jesus says, look, if you become a follower of mine, and I want to define that, if you kind of like, I'm just going to step over here and just do a little sidebar real quick. Sometimes we think what it means to be saved, to follow Jesus, to be a Christian, we think what that means is, well, I believe that Jesus is God's son. Well, I'm kind of keeping the faith. Well, I've, understand that Jesus is who he said he is. Do you know what Jesus meant? He used these words over and over and over. He says, you follow me. You follow me. If you follow me. That's the difference. One over here is just intellectual. I know some stuff in my head. One over here is my life is changed and I follow him. He sets my priorities. He holds my future. He is changing my heart. We have a dynamic relationship because I am following him. That is saved. That is being a Christian. That is being a follower of Jesus. One is knowing facts. One is living a transformed life. And so he says, if you're living a transformed life, if you are following me, then something's going to happen to you. My Spirit is going to come and live inside you. I mean, he's not going to just be around. He's not going to be at church when you get there. He is going to live inside you. And when he lives inside you, he's going to point you to truth. He's going to convict you of sin. He's going to help you know the things that you need to know, but don't miss this. And he's going to help you experience my heart for you. He is going to help you feel the love that I have for you. And I know, because I'm this way. You might hear that and think, okay, it's a little touchy-feely, right? You know, I'm an island. I'm kind of got my own thing, doing my own stuff. I don't really need all that touchy-feely stuff because that's, you know, it's good to know, but come on, you know, I got it. I'm good. I'm independent, self-sufficient. I got all this. Do you understand that Jesus created you and he created the touchy-feely parts too? And the reason he did it is because he wants you to know that he loves you and he wants you to experience being loved by him at the same time. That is his heart. It's not for you to know a bunch of information. Yes, knowing is good and that's part of it. But the other part of it is experiencing the love that he has for you. Here's a way to think about it. I don't know if you have a good relationship with your dad or not. I hope that you do. But if you don't have a great relationship with your dad, think of somebody else that you do have a great relationship with. It's one thing, and I just look at my own life. It's one thing for my dad to tell me, love you, son. And maybe he texted, or maybe see him, or maybe he says it, or maybe writes it in a card. And you know what? I know it. I know it's true. I do. I understand. I know. It is another thing for your dad to wrap his arms around you and you to feel the warmth of his body and hear and connect with the beat of his heart and feel the grip around you. One is knowing that you're loved. One is experiencing that love. And that's exactly what Jesus wants you to know from him. He is your friend. He loves you. You need to know that. He loves you. The Spirit wants you to experience that. I'll give you one other example. It's almost summertime. It's already getting to be hot. I was outside this weekend. I was a little scared because I know what's coming. Pretty soon, you're going to have friends running off to the beach. And they're going to be sending you pictures or putting them on their Instagram reels or whatever. And they're going to, be out there running and playing in the ocean and laying out and reading their books and doing all their stuff. Cold Dr. Pepper in hand that they're drinking. And they're just hanging out on the beach. And you're seeing the pictures. And you're happy for them, right? Like, yay, they got to go on vacation. It's one thing to see the pictures. It's another thing to be on the beach, isn't it? Those are two different deals. Jesus doesn't want to be the idea of a friend. He wants you to experience his friendship. I told you about Brandon, my best friend growing up, Brandon Wheeler. We knew each other, I think probably first grade was the first time we connected. We went to school together, and this was back in the day. I know this sounds weird to some of you. Are like, oh, I can't believe it. But we grew up in the same neighborhood. We lived 3 streets apart. We played in the afternoons. We played in the evening. We got on our bikes and just rode around aimlessly without helmets and no adults. I mean, it was just craziness. We did all kinds of, somebody likes that. We did all kinds of just wild, dangerous stuff. But we played baseball in the sandlot. We did all this stuff. Brandon and me, we did this stuff all the time. I mean, he got an Atari first, and so I'd go to his house to play Atari, and I had a big backyard, so we'd come over and play, I can't say that. We would play cowboys and not cowboys, and we would do all kinds of stuff together. We were friends. We had the same class together. We helped each other with homework. As we got older, we'd spend the night at each other's house so we could hang out more. When either one of us got a couple of bucks, it was a big deal. We'd go down to 7-Eleven and buy baseball cards and Slurpees. I mean, this was our whole life. From first grade through 8th grade, I mean, we were best friends. And then we started high school. Central High, downtown Phoenix. Yeah, one person. We went to school. And Brandon started hanging out with a guy named Terrence Nierswicki. He was a good guy. So the first month of school, it was weird because we didn't have any classes together. And we had never experienced that. We'd always been in the same class. We'd always been around each other, small schools we went to and everything else. It was kind of, that's odd, I don't know what to do with that. And as the semester wore on, we did less and less together. And he started hanging out with Terrence a lot more. And by the end of the first semester of freshman year, we didn't do anything together. It was just odd and strange to me. And I would say it this way. Now, he didn't do anything wrong, but from my vantage point, he flinched, right? We were friends. We were best friends. And then we weren't. And I don't really know why. But he flinched. He just didn't want to hang out with me anymore. And it was the first time I realized that you can get really hurt with relationships and with people. And it was kind of staggering. And I know for some of you, you think that's what's going to happen. You think that's what Jesus is going to do to you. That there's going to come a point where you say the wrong thing, you do the wrong thing, you go too far, or you've already gone so far that he flinched. Well, I'll be nice to you because I have to, because I'm Jesus and all, but that's all I'm going to do. That he's going to flinch on you, but he doesn't. Jesus is a lot more like Paul Herod. Paul ran for city council in Blaine, Minnesota. He was so excited to serve his community. He got on the ballot. He did all the stuff. He got the signatures and everything else, and he got on the ballot. But before the election, he got his dream job. Right there in Blaine, he got his dream job that he had been hoping for forever. And they said the only problem is you can't do this job and be a city councilman. There's no way you'll have enough time to do both. And it was his dream job. And so he decided, I got to get out of this. And so what he did was he started writing letters to his hometown paper about why people should not vote for him. And he went and he offered to all his friends, I will drive you to the polls if you promise to vote for someone else. And he put up posters where he put an X through him and he circled the other guy that he wanted to get elected. You know, why would he do all of this? The city clerk of Blaine, Minnesota explained it really well. She said, if you get on the ballot in Blaine, the only way to get off is to die. You're on the ballot no matter what. Once Jesus is your friend, there's nothing you can do to make him flinch. You can't. There's nothing you can do to make him flinch. You can't embarrass him. You can't shame him. You can't out-sin him. There is nothing you can do to make him flinch. He will never feel differently about you. We tend to think if I sin too much, he's going to distance himself. The reality is he moves towards us with sympathy and compassion. He is an unflinching friend. Most of your relationships, the best ones, are what they are because of the hard things you've gone through together, right? It's not bad to go through great times with someone, but the real power in your relationships come from going through hard times together. It's no different with Jesus. You see, we tend to think that if I mess up and dig myself into a hole, I'm in trouble. And sometimes it's the hole that we dig that we fall into. Sometimes somebody else dug a hole and we weren't paying attention and we tumbled into it. Sometimes somebody dug a hole, grabbed us, and pulled us down into their hole, right? And it's in the hole where Jesus meets us. He says, you can't embarrass me. And all those things that you think you can't share with anyone else, the things you can't say, the things you don't want to admit, the stuff you want to hide that you won't share with anyone else, guess what? Jesus already knows them. And he's still there. He didn't flinch, and he won't flinch. Now, I would never tell you that you shouldn't have other relationships and other friendships. You absolutely should. You're built for connection. God made you that way, and even the most introverted person gets lonely. We need each other. But the best relationships that you have are going to be built on this core relationship, this friendship that you have with Jesus. You see, something amazing happens. When you start to know who Jesus is, when you start to engage this relationship, and it's very simple, it's getting to know him that gets you to go with him. The more you get to know who he is, what he values, what he cares about, where he's at, what he's thinking, what he's doing, the more you want to go with him. And you might say, but all my stuff, but all my things, but the places I've messed up. And he says, yes, that's fine, let's go. I'll cover it, I'll take care of it. The more you get to know him, the more you want to go with him. In my own life, one of the ways I think about this, you've probably heard of the story of the prodigal son. Very simple story. Son takes off, blows his dad's inheritance, and decides maybe I can go back home. I just don't know if home wants me back, right? And he's kind of struggling through that. Here's Brett's modern version of that. Most of us did this at one point or another as teenagers or young adults or whatever. We got the car, we got the keys, we did whatever. We went out, and we knew we were supposed to be home by a certain time, and we're late, right? And we know it's not gonna be pretty when we get home, right? So we're coming home and we're pretty sure that mom or dad, or both mom and dad, are waiting up for us to come in to the living room. And we don't know how they're gonna receive us. Let's amp that up by about 10. So many times we come back, we see that we've messed up, we see we've blown it, we've seen we've done something wrong, we've mistreated people, we've said the wrong thing, we've been selfish, we've been self-centered, whatever it is, we've treated people poorly, and we're coming back in and we're wondering, what is he gonna do? How is he gonna respond? Because I know what mom and dad did, man. I lost the keys and they were mad and I had to listen and go to my room and the whole thing, and we think that's what Jesus is gonna do. I mean, he can't completely disown us, he's still Jesus, but he's gonna be mad. You know what he does when you come in late? He jumps up, he puts his arms around you and he says, I'm so glad you're home. I'm so glad you came back. Now don't get me wrong, he wants us to change, he wants us to do better, he wants us to move into the life that he created us to live. But he's not waiting to punish us. Jesus would rather be with you than reject you. And he's done everything he can to prove it. That is his heart. He is not even slow to welcome you back. That's what it means to be Jesus's friend. Let's pray together.